Eventbrite is awesome.
So Eventbrite, we started in 2006. We started with the idea of democratizing ticketing, so making it available to anyone who wants to organize an event. Very simple product at the beginning. It was basically a plug for PayPal to accept payments on your behalf as an organizer and create a destination for your event that you can promote online and sell tickets for. We've evolved over the years. It's been a very interesting journey. We went from 3 people in 2006 to 550 now. We raised $200 million in the process. We have 10 offices across 7 different countries today. So it's a very different organization. Our business has grown tremendously, and the fact that half of the room has been to an Eventbrite event is pretty awesome. I get that pretty much anywhere in the world I go to these days. So it's very satisfying to see all that the small thing we created has taken off and is being widely adopted pretty much all over the world.
Well, can you, to the people that don't have it, what is Eventbrite?
So we're the largest event technology platform in the world. We power events in 187 countries, processing more than 2 billion in ticket sales every year. So it's a lot of events who come to us to power their ticketing. And today we're expanding into other areas, and we can talk about that a bit later. Yeah. But basically we make it super easy for anyone who has an event to sell tickets.
So the process of installing Eventbrite, just run us through that. What do? You download it?
Well, you don't even need to download it. We started as a website, so you just go to eventbrite.com. In 5 minutes, you can get your event set up and start selling. So that was the real catch at the beginning to get us a lot of traction. It's this ease of use. All you needed is your email address, because with your email address, you could connect Eventbrite to your PayPal account. And I think that was really the secret at the beginning. No friction whatsoever. You can get started in literally a couple of minutes.
So a lot of people arrange stuff on Facebook, right? So how do you differentiate yourself from that?
Well, we don't differentiate ourselves. We actually work with Facebook. Right. We're one of the first 2 companies to have our events sold directly on Facebook. So today, for a small subset of events, still a pilot test, you can go on Facebook and complete the purchase for our events directly on Facebook, end to end. So I think for us, that's really interesting. It's expanding our distribution channels to where the people are. You use Facebook every day, you find events through that. Why can't you buy tickets directly there when you actually find the event? Yeah. That's our philosophy, and I think it's something that has tremendous potential for us. There's many different platforms that have an audience that is very interesting in the topic. You can think of music, for example, with a Spotify or SoundCloud. They have so many artists that are performing in the real world, and we have tickets for them. So I think there's a lot of things we could do with other partners down the line.
That's got huge potential, I think. So
we call it distributed commerce.
Distributed commerce, absolutely. What other type of partners do you work with that are non-music?
For distribution, it's something we just started. So Facebook was the first one, but we're in talks.
And it's a pilot scheme at the moment.
Yes. Yeah. It's a pilot. They had to build a lot of the infrastructure themselves to handle the payments, the event details. They launched their app as well, where we are sold directly on the app as well. So it's a great partner for us.
And it's good news for them as well. You know, other type of partners.
I mean, we have a very rich platform. I think that's one of our key differentiator in the space. We have more than 140 official partners. So think about Salesforce, MailChimp, SurveyMonkey, all these tools that organizers use every day, and that through our API we're able to connect in one central platform. So we're really the central nervous system of the event organizer's life, and I've tried to find the best partners that can really complement our offering way beyond ticketing. Okay. And that's really powerful when you go talk to large clients, especially.
So you're clearly not English or American. You're French, is it?
I am French, yes. Well, I'm American technically as well.
So you moved to the Valley in '96, and you started the company in 2006 in the Valley. So what did you do in those 10 years preceding that?
So I'm kind of a fraud because I'm not even a computer science major. I studied civil engineering at Cornell University near New York. I did civil engineering for 4 years between '96 and 2000. It was exactly at the time where the web started really taking off. So I made it a hobby for myself. I created websites just for fun. I was very much into nature photography, so I created an index of all the nature photographers out there. It worked quite well, and it was a lot of fun, like the immediacy of the web, where you could write a few lines of code and push them, and the next day you had a bunch of users that found it somehow. So that got me really excited, and I started doing more and more of these projects, and I did one for my civil engineering company as well. I connected our accounting database to a web interface so that I could do my job better. So that's really how I became fully involved with the web. And in 2000, I joined a photo sharing company, one of the first ones. It doesn't exist anymore. It lasted 1 year. It was exactly when the dot-com bubble burst. It was a lot of fun. We went from 30 people to 120, back to 10 in 1 year.
So in the UK, and in London especially, the best ideas that we ever have are in the pub, you know, conversation in the pub. By the time we wake up in the morning, we've forgotten the idea. It was amazing at midnight, and then it's forgotten at 10 a.m. So when was the kind of light bulb moment that you decided, Eventbrite, I'm not going to be into photo sharing, I'm not going to go there, I've tried, failed. When was the moment? Was it something that just came to you, or was it a...
Well, the idea came from my co-founder, Kevin. He was an early investor in PayPal. And in 2001, he thought about all the possible things he could do with PayPal as a payment provider. And he came up with a bunch of ideas. One of them was, let's do events. Another one was, let's send money abroad. And that second idea became Zoom, which is, now it is PayPal. It went for an IPO a couple of years ago and got bought last year for close to $1 billion by PayPal. So my co-founder did that between 2001 and 2005. And at the end of 2005, he left Zoom and thought about what do I do next. And then he remembered that he had this idea for events. And he is not technical, so he asked around to the people he knew at Zoom, do you know someone who can help me kickstart the project? And that's a friend of mine who worked at Zoom, introduced me to Kevin and Julia, his wife. Well, he's now a wife. They were dating for 3 months before they started working together.
Oh, man, weird.
And then for me, the idea was almost evident. I just couldn't believe no one had thought of it before. The events market was potentially huge. We still don't have a good number as to how big it is.
Yeah.
And we had the hunch that it was going to increase over time, especially if a platform like the one we wanted to build was offered, because a lot of people were interested in branching out from their boring corporate job and starting new things. And hobbies are something people feel very passionate about, and events are a great way to share that knowledge, to share that interest. Yeah. So the combination of the PayPal integration, a very simple, easy-to-use interface for small and medium-sized events is really what appealed to me.
So it was easy to monetize right from the start?
Yeah, I mean, we were free for quite a while. You had to pay your PayPal fees, but a year into it, we started charging.
Right, okay.
It was a pretty scary moment when you start charging your customers.
Always, yeah.
But since we were the first platform and that there was little competition in our space, we benefited greatly from that.
So was the acceleration like that to begin with? Or how did the graph go? Did it go like that? Or?
It's been quite steady. The events business has a lot of latency built in. Like this type of events take several months to organize. You think twice before you select a different platform or integrate some other technology. So there's a lot of momentum, but it's still a very gradual, even slope of growth.
Bear in mind you're French, and it started off in English, and I don't know how many you said, like 10 countries. Yeah. Is it very easy to localize into different languages?
Localization is never easy. I think that's when you say you're global from day one, I think that's easy for some technologies like consumer apps that don't have any payments, but e-commerce destinations, it's a much harder task.
Yes.
The translation part is easy.
Yep. It's the cultural,
but developing the business is very different, especially in the event space, which has a lot of local specificities. You don't do events the same way in France or the US or Lebanon, for example.
Presumably it's in Arabic as well? It's in Arabic?
No. Right. We're in 7 languages, most of the European languages mostly, and South America, we have Brazil and Argentina.
So 400 million Arabic speakers, it's an amazing market. If you wanted to, you've decided, right, okay, we're going to set up an office in Dubai maybe, looking at the region. So if you wanted to localize it, how long would it take? Would it take a year to do it? Would it take?
So our first non-English language was German. And we launched in Germany officially with a team last year. The growth is great, but it's going to take a few years. Like, you don't displace incumbents. You don't make a name for yourself. Like, you guys know because you're interested in tech. But outside of tech, there's a lot of events as well that are core to our business. I'm thinking of the music space, the sport, entertainment in general. They are existing ticketers that have the market. So you have to displace, you have to convince people that your technology is superior and that you can bring much more efficiency, savings, a lot of arguments to convince these people to switch to a different solution.
Absolutely.
And that is true everywhere.
And obviously these people, English speakers.
But the Middle East is actually growing quite fast for us. It's one of these markets that is just growing very, very well organically. So we keep track of all the countries, how fast they're growing. I think Dubai is one of our top performers. We are obviously used here as well. So there's definitely potential. I don't know at what time we could be here.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
But it's on the
capital roadmap, deciding when it makes sense, size of the market is very important.
So you turn over $2 billion a year in ticket revenue.
Yeah,
wow.
We do 2 million events a year, so that's
2 million events, 2 billion. Oh my God.
2 and 2.
That's where that 200 million went.
2 million tickets every week. We like 2 for some reason.
The plans at the moment, after raising $200 million of funding, which is no small amount, are you expected to raise more money? You've got a lot of people to pay for, or IPO, anything like that?
So the big focus today is to become profitable. We've invested a lot in growing, and that's the Valley mentality.
Absolutely.
You raise money so that you can grow as fast as you can. And I think we've reached that point where we're very close to profitability. And our goal is to be profitable in the next quarter, hopefully, to really establish a self-sustaining business. Because as long as you're vulnerable to the venture capital world, you are not in control. You still have to raise more money. You still have to go and prove that your growth is what it needs to be for your next valuation. So it's a constant battle to keep the story up. When you're in control, you can make much more drastic decisions.
Absolutely.
Including going public if you feel it's the right time. Something we're thinking about for sure. I mean, we've talked about it for 5 years, I think now, with the press, and the question comes often.
All the time, yeah.
We don't see it as a necessity, I think. There's plenty of ways we can grow without an IPO, but it's an option.
It sounds to me like you're becoming horizontal, and you're moving into being vertical. So how is that process? I mean, I hope that's correct.
Yeah, it is correct.
I think.
So we wanted to be attractive to as many potential customers as possible at the beginning. We didn't really know where it was going to take off. We had a good idea that I think the tech space was going to adopt us because they like innovation, they like to try new things, so that proved very true. But over the years, we've expanded into many different verticals. You can imagine that with 2 million events, we have a wide variety of organizers. And as we targeted small, medium-sized events at the beginning, mostly because our feature set wasn't as rich as it needed to be for the larger ones. But over time, we've bridged that gap. And today, for the last 5 years, we've moved upstream. So we have more and more larger events using us. Think about a music festival with 50,000 people. I mean, even here, it's 20,000 people. And as a result, we had to rethink our approach. And instead of having a general platform where everything is available to everyone, and nothing is really targeted at anyone, we are verticalizing today. So we want to create solutions, end-to-end solutions for specific verticals. Music is one. We're exploring others quite actively. So we're speaking with the large organizers to understand their needs, to create or refine our platform to really adapt to their ways of working.
Are you moving into the Internet of Things? Is that something that you'd be doing?
So as part of this effort to be more of a vertical solution for music, we acquired a company that did RFID bracelet technologies for getting into festivals. So we acquired a company, integrated into Eventbrite, connected it with your credit card so that we can do cashless payments at festivals.
Wow.
And that's only the beginning. There's a very small team at the moment. We're trying to get more and more people to build on it and to think about other types of solutions that IoT unlocks for us.
Are you thinking cybersecurity immediately, bearing in mind the recent botnet attack and we're all going to die?
Well, we suffered from it because our DNS provider went down,
was
affected. So it's definitely a concern, and we have to deal with much simpler fraud, I think, when you're at the event. But now that we have the credit card on record associated with the bracelet, there's definitely ways you could potentially hack. So that the technology we acquired is very strong in security as well.
Okay, so
and the hardware is designed to be very tamper-proof.
You're prepared.
We are trying to.
I feel very sorry about DIN, because I know that company. They're in Brighton, where I live in the UK.
Yeah, it's tough. Like when you have thousands and thousands of devices trying to hit your servers, it's definitely not an easy problem.
I've got a feeling, and I hope they're okay. Do you know what I mean?
And they're a good company, so I hope they mitigate what they need to mitigate.
So music would seem to be a focus. So I went to Coachella. I was lucky enough to go to Old Cella last week, a couple of weeks ago. I'll never be the same again. And it was so meticulously planned, you know, compared to certain scruffy festivals that I've attended in the past. I mean, the sound system is useless because of the wind, and, you know, it's just a mess, and it's dirty, and the toilets are shit and everything, you know.
Nothing we can do about that.
No, absolutely. But perhaps you could make it easier for people to get to the event and in the event. Is that the technology that you would provide?
Yeah, exactly. So you get a bracelet in the mail. When you go to the event, you just tap on the box, you're in. If you're a VIP, you tap on the VIP box, you're in. So we're trying to really streamline not having to pull your phone all the time. You say it's dirty, it's sandy. You probably don't want to take out your phone every time you need to do something. So you can buy a beer, and it's quite powerful if you remove the friction again.
Yeah.
I think that's the type of solution we create are always after removing friction somewhere.
Yeah.
Or improving a process.
And does that make it easier for that technology to interact with other content at the festival? So you might be able to get a burger and...
well, exactly. And I think social interactions could be empowered as well, interaction with the sponsors. There's a lot of things we can do.
Right, okay.
And we're exploring a bunch of them at the moment.
Okay. You spoke earlier about the photo sharing stuff, and the company folded after a year, the so-called big fail. And you hear a lot, even at this conference, about if you fail, get up, be resilient, do it again, and all that stuff. I get a bit bored of hearing that, you know. Why should you ever fail? Why don't you just win every time? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think failure is overrated, personally. If you don't have to fail, please don't. There's no point. And I think starting with the idea that you can fail might be giving you a safety net that is quite dangerous in my mind. Like, it's great if you fail and can rebound, but a lot of people who have failed have not rebound. I think that we hear about the good stories, not necessarily all the ones that ended badly.
Yeah, yeah.
So don't think as failure as an option. Like, go for it, get your business built up, hire the right people. I think we invested a lot and still invest a lot in our people, and they're the ones who are going to make the difference in the end.
So as you said earlier to me backstage, it's not a rite of passage.
No, I don't think you have to. The photo sharing side was not my failure. I didn't take it personally. I was on a founder. There was a management team, and they made mistakes, of course, and that's how they ended up in a failure. But it taught me a lot about what failure looks like from the inside, because you don't necessarily. I think I saw it very early. They were showing graphs that were exponential. We were going to have revenue multiply by 1,000% in 2 years. So there are telltale signs that you're not telling the right story, and that you're not telling the right story to yourself. And I think that's the most dangerous thing you can do.
You're being pompous and vain, maybe. You know what I mean?
Exactly, or thinking that we're going to be able to raise 200 million to finance that. Yeah. We had raised 50 million, so it's not like we were playing with little money. We spent a lot of money very quickly, and to no result.
So how many here are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs? Could you raise your hand? So you've got a great audience and you've got a great man to give them some advice.
How many of you have failed before? Quite a few.
That's more than the first time.
Well, I think as long as you learn from your failures and don't repeat the same mistakes, that's a valuable experience in itself. So there's no way to control whether you're going to win or not. You can do your best to win, and if it doesn't work, well, keep moving on to the next thing.
But what's the advice to win?
I think focusing on large problems often makes the difference. So we focused on a very large market that was global. That could be a $10 billion company at some point, or more, potentially.
Yeah.
So focusing on a large problem, investing early in the right team, having the right co-founders, sole founders, good luck. That's a tough life. So make sure you surround yourself with the right people. We had a very complementary founding team. I was the only tech guy on the team. Kevin had a lot of experience fundraising, running a company. Julia was very good at customer support, marketing, all the things that need to happen at some point in a company. And I think that was one of our big strengths.
Right, okay.
To divide and conquer. That's the motto we've applied since we started.
When do you take VC money?
Sorry?
When do you take VC money? Should you take it?
When you don't need it.
When you don't need it.
I think that's the best advice we got. Like, raise money when you have good fundamentals, when you're seeing growth, not when you're 2 months away of running out of cash, because that's a very weak position to go into a VC negotiation. So make sure you're strong, that you don't need the money right away. And the seed rounds, A rounds are slightly different, but the growth rounds, we raised 200 million over the year. The progression was, I think we got 1 million in seed round, 6.5 in Series A in 2009, so 3 years after we started.
Right.
And then every year we got 20, 50, 60, and 60. So it became a lot easier with time, because we had a business that was growing nicely, that had very predictable outcomes. We were telling a good story also about where we wanted to go. So the last 4 rounds were actually fairly easy compared to the seed round.
Right, okay. One question that's maybe slightly random, but it comes to me a lot. I mean, I mentor some startups, not amazingly well, but I'm trying my best. Is that you have your own story, you're doing all right, you're making money, you're preparing to raise more money, you're set up. But the story that the story that you need to tell to other people, the PR, the marketing, the events, when should you bring in should you use an agency? Should you hire a PR person or a marketing person? And when should you do it?
We've tried everything. So. Had good results, sometimes bad results. So now we do most of our PR in-house. We have a couple of specialized agencies. So I think one that deals with mostly consumer press that we were not reaching, and another one that specialized in music.
Okay.
It's a very different network. So the music space, for example, is different type of writers, different type of publications. So there you can benefit, I think, from the knowledge and the network of a specialized agency.
So kind of obviously a big company has got control of itself, it has money to invest. They usually have in-house teams. But if you're a smaller company or like some of these people, you know, what should they do and when should they do it? Should they do it after 3 months, 6 months, 9 months?
I think you have to decide why you want to do PR. You have to have a goal and be somewhat measurable. So I think at the beginning you want to be in TechCrunch, the tech press in general, and that's probably a good idea just so that you can be on the radar of the VCs when you want to raise money.
Yeah.
After that, it's more about how do you advertise your product much more than your story.
Yeah.
And that requires a totally different ball game. For us, we were a lot about like the traction of the company, how many tickets we were selling for the first few years, and after that we switched to be more of a like a think tank around events. So we publish a lot of surveys, a lot of studies. We actually sponsor studies to inform certain part of our business. We released one on social commerce, for example, with real numbers as to the value of a Facebook share on our platform.
Yeah.
So we found that every share generated $4 or something. It depends on the countries
Yeah.
in actual ticket sales for the organizer.
Yeah.
So trying to be that thinking forward company that produces valuable content that the media wants to reuse.
I like what you said about the VC money. I once, when I was younger, worked for a company and they just raised $2 million. And the CEO's first question was, we've raised 2 million, now where can we cut back? And I thought that was an awesome way of doing things. We're coming to an end, which is unfortunate. Lunch will shortly be served. Do you have any final words of inspiration to these wonderful people about what they should do next? Should they go to conferences? Should they stay and work 16 hours a day? What should they do? What's the optimal way to emulate your story?
I think you have to be purposeful. So if you go to an event like this one, have an agenda, have people you want to meet, have companies you want to interact with. It's very easy to go to all the tech events, and there's one every week,
Absolutely,
I think.
Absolutely.
So decide which phase you're learning, and a lot of you are probably at regular companies and want to become entrepreneurs, so that's a perfect stage for learning. But once you start, like your unique goal is to make your product work, and that's what you should focus on. So don't go to events, don't network unless you need to recruit. Just do what's needed for the business, and sometimes it's 12-hour days or 15-hour days coding because you don't have a product yet. You don't have anything to sell, so you can sell the idea, but that goes so long. The best value I think you can bring to your company is bring customers and users to your platform.
Absolutely. I mean,
and that's not made here usually.
Choose your conferences well, I think. I think this one's a great one, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? I'd like to thank Renaud Visage for his insight, his thought leadership, and thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amazing.
Before you guys get off stage, I would like to take a selfie. Come on. With the crowd. Look, it's oversold. Look how many people are waiting there.
You go in the middle.
Yeah, I need to be on the side.
You're the star.
I have a long...
Jean Visage.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Renaud.
Thank
This
you.
was great.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Monty.